Hey everybody. Um, I thought I would put out a quick little video. I've been getting a lot of questions, requests for extensions, things like that on this tic-tac-toe assignment. And I'm guessing that it probably seems more complicated than you were expecting, and it wasn't really intended to be. So I just kind of wanted to give you a couple of tips without, giving you the answer right away, I suppose. So with the Tic-Tac-Toe extension, the first one was to render an image, and the second one was to extend the board size, right? And if you go to the Tic-Tac-Toe demo, assuming that you go through it and you get it all working, this is just the code pen for the finished product, which the link is available to you. I haven't modified anything here yet, but basically, um, there's two things to consider here. So the first one, the image. Now, if you look through this code and you get a feel for how it works, um, honestly, probably looks like a very complicated program, but all it really is a series of squares that are being rendered to a board object. So consider this board to be the main container for everything, and it's going to render out every single number of squares in its list of objects. And it's a little bit abstracted, which makes these extensions I was talking about nice and easy. Easy, sorry for that. So with the first one, to render an image, all we really need to do is some conditional rendering. Now, I've had students ask me how, the winning check, if we go to the bottom here, well, it's going to look to see where's the winner, calculate winner. So basically here it lists out all the possible combinations of win states, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0, 3, 6, 1, 4, 7. So basically just programmatically or by hand lists out every single possible combination. And what it looks for is, okay, is squares a, um, so basically, is there something here, and is that value equal to the next one, and is that value equal to the last one? Basically, if this is x, and x equals x, and x equals x, you have a win condition. Kind of an odd way to do it, but basically it's just looking for whatever's in that first position. So it's looking for the contents there. It's looking for this particular value is actually being stored as props.value. So I'm going to pop open the console here. I just want to show you something which might help. So in here, I can do console.log props.value. All right, and we see it's null, but now I click X here, and we start seeing X's and O's pop up. So props.value is the X or the O, which, when you click, close the console here, onclick this.props.onclick I, and the onclick event is handle click. Basically, it's just setting the state of the variable to X or O. So all I'm trying to say is that props.value is either X or O or null. So it's got three states. What you can do is something along this lines. And I'm just going to do this for two of them, and I'll let you extrapolate. I guess one thing I should mention too, I mentioned you need an image, right? So let's render a sprite. I just did a quick, oops, that's not what I want. I'm copying and pasting from Vim over here, and it's not always the nicest. So here, I just searched for an image of an X. You could put whatever image you want in here. Now, 100 by 100, this is not going to look pretty, obviously, but I can do something like this. So, conditional rendering, that just means we're writing an if statement. All right, if props.value equals null, I want to render my empty button. Don't remember what the pretty formatting button was in here, but still we have that. But when I click, we get a bunch of errors because we're no longer handling the other state. We're not returning anything. Say else if props.value equals x, let's return that. Okay. O is going to break because we haven't handled O, else I'm going to return. And we could be a little bit cuter about this too, right? It could be a switch statement. It could, we could create a component and set its value, however you want to do this. This is just one quick way that we can do that. All right, so, still looks fine. Good, good, good. Let's restart our game. Now, how do we render that image? Well, the props.value we don't want to change because that is what we're using to check our win state. But if we're just visually showing things, we don't really need to render that. Instead of this, well, that's the wrong way to comment in React. It's that. Okay. /star. Why don't we just put an image inside the button? Not that one, thank you. It's this one. And I will leave the styling to you. Extra quote here. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Now, obviously, again, you'd have to scale the image appropriately, use CSS, or manually resize it. But now I've got an image. I'm not touching the props value. I am not changing the win conditions. I'm not doing anything like that. Just returning something visually based on the state of my game. All right, I'm going to refresh this now to get rid of all of this so that it looks at least neat and clean. All right, so we have our game. Now the last bit is, well, how do we extrapolate this to be a 4x4 or a 5x5? This one I'm not going to do for you here, but my suggestion is to kind of look through the code and see where is it actually looking at the grid size. So start at the top. Okay, so nothing specific here. Okay, value this.props.squares bracket I. That makes sense, but this is for every single one. Here. We have a div rendering 3 buttons. Div rendering 3 buttons. Div rendering 3 buttons. What happens if we just do this? This.render square 3. We get a 4th row. And then you'd have to adjust all of these so that we have unique IDs, right? So now, extrapolate that, make it a 4x4. Just make sure that your IDs are all fine. Okay, so assume we have our 4x4 or 5x5 here, right? So we have our squares. Well, the array size has to change. The win conditions need to change, right? So this needs to be updated because it's no longer 3x3. It's 4x4 or 5x5. This if statement needs to be updated because now there's an extra condition to check. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's all I'm going to give you here for this, because otherwise I'm just completely giving it away. Anyway, hope that's helpful. First bit, conditional rendering. Second bit, there's a lot of hard-coded 3x3s in here. Make it hard-coded 4x4, 5x5. And if you wanted to make that a clickable event, basically you just need to have a button or a checkbox that loads in this particular component as the 3x3 map or the 4x4 map or the 5x5 map. And if you wanted to extrapolate this to make it n by n, well, you'd have to turn this into some kind of a loop. You'd have to figure out the logic for creating this particular list of lists. You would have to, update your number of buttons up here based on a list and your array size based on a list. Anyway, hope that's helpful. That's as much as I'm going to give you here. Good luck. See you all next time.